Welcome to Roofing Road Trips, the podcast that takes you on a thrilling journey across the world of roofing. From fascinating interviews with roofing experts to on-the-road adventures, we'll uncover the stories, innovations, and challenges that shape the rooftops over our heads. So fasten your seatbelts and join us as we embark on this exciting roofing road trip.
Hello, and welcome to another Roofing Road Trips from Roofer's Coffee Shop. My name is Heidi Ellsworth, and as always, we are here with some of the most interesting stories in roofing. We want to bring you all of the information from the feel-good stories about the people who make up roofing, along with all of the products and technologies. But today, we are really focused on the story. And I am so honored to have Lillianne Dunstall here, who I've worked with on National Women in Roofing. We worked together. She was the chair of the Canadian Council. And I have to tell you, an author. She wrote a book on the unlikely VP. Lillianne, thank you for joining us. I'm so excited to have you here.
I am so thrilled to be here. I cannot tell you. I have watched your podcasts over the years, and I never thought I'd be sitting here. And here I am. So I'm very happy and thrilled to be here.
Oh, you have just such an amazing story, and I'm just so excited. And the fact that you've documented it in this book, and also just your ability to really share and help that next generation, I love. So let's start with, if you could introduce yourself and tell us your story.
Absolutely. So I'm Lillianne Dunstall. I started my career, actually, let me start by saying very quickly, I have 3 siblings, and I grew up with 2 parents who valued work ethic. And so they instilled that in all of us. Having said that, I hated school. I hated school with a passion. And as a matter of fact, I mentioned in my book, had it been a person, I would have unfriended it, blocked it, and sent out a restraining order. I hated it. So post-secondary was never something I was going to be looking at. And my parents couldn't afford it anyway. So I bolted out of those high school doors and started my career. My first job was as a bell operator. I was the person that said, "Hello, operator, can I help you?"
Oh,
and
fun!
And I touch on that in my book because at those days, there was no 911. So the first person that someone would call in an emergency was 0, right? So that certainly honed a lot of my skills. And then over the course of the next 15 or 20 years, because I had no diploma, I was in the admin roles. And so I did that for, again, about 15 or 20 years in different roles. And then in 2002, I was hired into the roofing industry. And that was the change for me. I excelled, and I get into great detail in The Unlikely VP about how I did that. In each chapter, all of the different tools that I learned and I used. And I rose to vice president of North American business operations and Canadian sales. Try putting that on a business card.
Wow.
And I did. And I absolutely loved it. And once I finished that in 2019, you mentioned I received a call that they had asked me if I would chair National Women in Roofing, the first Canadian chapter. I was thrilled to do that. I have to tell you that working with women across the industry, especially the young women, was really inspiring to me. And they would say things to me that, that I would inspire them. And I would think, oh my God, are you kidding me? Just listening to them, I was always in awe. And so then after that, after 2 years of that, I stepped back, and I did not like what was going on in our community. So I decided to run for municipal politics, and much to the chagrin of maybe half of the town and the surprise of myself, I won. And I'm more than halfway through my term. And when it finishes, I will not be taking politics as a career choice. That's not something that you think roofing stuff. I've got stories to tell you about politics, and I decided to write a book, and that's why I'm here today. Yeah.
That is so cool. Okay. So when you came into the industry in 2002, what company were you with?
Tremco.
Okay. So I knew that, but I wanted everybody else to know that.
I
So
know
you went, talk about whoosh, really taking that to that next level of what you were doing with sales, business development. That's huge. So going from that switchboard operator with Bell, which again, I think is so cool, to that VP, what were some of the defining pivot points that helped change your path?
I talk about this in chapter 5, and it's called Climbing the Corporate Ladder While Dodging Legos and Life's Curveballs. And I had to do both. I certainly had a lot of pivot points. I think like most people do. Life is not linear. And so life will throw you either a gift or a kick in the teeth. And either way, typically you have to either pivot, re-strategize, or recalibrate. And so I had to do that. Certainly one of the biggest things, and I think for most women, was having children.
Yeah.
Especially when I did. I mean, my oldest is 40. I can't believe I'm saying that. And I have no doubt she won't believe I said that. I'm sure she won't be happy about that. But I mean, taking the time back, my husband was making twice as much money as I was. And in those days, it was really the woman who kind of took on most of the responsibility. So most of my admin jobs during those early years were jobs where I could do my work, but then still leave at a reasonable time. But because my husband's career had taken off, we had to move, and we moved several times. And each time we moved, I got a new admin job. Yeah. So I gained experience, and most of it was in the manufacturing field, but I gained experience in purchasing, marketing, sales. I was admin in all of those roles. So I kind of grew with the business. I learned the business operations piece, and that was something that I really excelled at. So once, okay, can we stop?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. I got a little lost there. Sorry about that.
No, you're great.
Where would you like me to start?
Just starting about when you went from that pivot point basically in 2002, when you came into the roofing.
All right, I'll start that.
And then just take a break and a little bit of silence, and then just start just as if you were already going. Okay,
so I'm going to start with in 2002.
Yeah.
Right? Okay, so I'll wait. You start again and I'll wait. So in 2002, I was hired into the roofing industry, Tremco, and that's really where my career started taking off. I was lucky enough to be hired by the Vice President of Canada, who was one of the two men who had a huge impact on my career. He treated me as an equal, and it was the first time that anyone had made me feel like I was just as important. I started taking things off of his plate. The more things I took off of his plate, the more he gave me responsibility and authority. So by the time we got it running, he was running the Canadian sales piece, and I was running the business operations piece, and we were true partners. That was the first time I actually considered that I could go to more than lower level or mid management, was when he made me feel like I was just as important as he was. And in all sense of the word, I actually was, because I did control the business piece, and he supported me. And the reps would come after me because, operations and sales don't always necessarily agree, but he always supported me. And that gave me a lot of credibility. Because I was his assistant or his right-hand person, I knew a lot of the senior people in Cleveland. Mm-hmm. And when he left the company, I became their go-to person. So that was a huge pivot point for me. That gave me more exposure to Cleveland. And one particular instant really propelled my career. And that was that there was an inventory shortage. There was a raw material shortage on 2 items. It was 3 weeks before year end. Mm-hmm. We were shy of making our numbers. Everybody knows if you don't make your numbers in roofing, they'll be held to pay. So I was on daily calls with the senior management team in Cleveland, all of the manufacturing people, all of the marketing, products, distribution, working shoulder to shoulder. And I started wheeling and dealing. So if I send you product from Montreal to New Jersey, can Cleveland send me product A? And if I get an extra shift on in Toronto, can LA do this? And by the time we were done, we made our numbers. Because I had stepped up and owned it, I got noticed. And probably about 8 or 9 months later, I received a call. I was on vacation on a yearly girls trip with my sister and my cousins, and I get a call, and I looked at the phone, and it was a Cleveland number. And I thought, who is calling me from Cleveland? I'm on vacation. And it was the new president. And he said to me, and he got right to the point. He said, I'm taking over as president. I like what you do in Canada. And I want you to become the director of North American business operations.
Amazing.
I'm standing in Montreal. My husband's 500 miles away, and I said to him, gave me details of the job. And then he said, I need a response relatively quickly because I'm making an announcement on Friday. This was Wednesday.
Oh my gosh.
I know.
Oh, wow.
Spoiler alert, I took the job. And that's how and in my book, The Unlikely VP, I actually break it down to all of the skills that I've learned. So that's how I got to where I got.
Yeah. Well, I have to tell you, one of the things I love in your book is at the end of every chapter, you summarize it and you're like lessons learned in this chapter. And I think that is so cool. And along with some summaries. So what inspired you? I mean, obviously your story is so awesome, but what inspired you to write this book?
Well, there was a few things. My husband has been always telling me you should write a book because he would overhear my conversations dealing with crisis, calming egos, dealing with people who weren't happy with something. And he would hear me and he would say to me, this could either be a book or a reality series. And no one would hire me for TV. So I decided to write a book. And also I have two daughters in the industry, right? So it was important to me. And this book is not War and Peace. It's a very quick, short read, very direct. I'm not a fluffy person. Yeah. So I wanted to get right to the point and get my information out there. And about 5 months ago, someone that I had worked with in Cleveland, very smart, sharp, young woman, extremely intelligent, had reached out to me about something. And we were talking and she said to me, you were my mentor.
Oh.
And I said, how? And she said, I always looked up to you. She joked and she said, even to the point of when you had a thumb ring, I went out and bought one. And I said, okay, so now I'm contributing to fashion. But when she said that to me, it surprised me. And I was talking to my one daughter who knew this woman. And I said to her, oh my goodness, this person said this to me. And she said, Mom, you don't understand the impact you've had on other women. You really don't. And that's when I thought, you know what? They look at me as if I'm really great and I'm not. I'm no different. I just know stuff that they might not know. Right. So I thought I'm going to share that with them and they can use it. They cannot, but at least they'll have it there.
Yeah, I love it. And we have both seen how important it is for women to support women.
Absolutely.
I mean, it's just, and it wasn't, we've been in the industry similar timelines and it wasn't always that way. No. Sometimes, but not always. In fact, I can remember being that young marketing coordinator and having actually other women mad at me because I was doing marketing and they were doing something different. And we go back and forth. And I was like, man, we should all be getting along. We should all be working together. Right. But that has changed. I realize there's still some not the best situations, but overall, you really see like what you're doing. We're seeing women helping women to succeed.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think it's so important because women do have a large amount of weight on their shoulders. The majority of women, not all, but the majority of women pick up more than half of their share of family life, right? I mean, it just is what it is. I'm not, definitely, no one's complaining, but those are the facts. So having some support out there, especially in a male-dominated industry, and I'll talk about that in a little bit. I hate using that term. It's important for women to be able to talk to other women. And to listen, and because we all go through the same things, and knowing that you're not crazy, or she felt the same. When people talk about me and being a mentor, and I think of all the times I stood in front of a room and sighed, dying, thinking I can't do this, know. And for me to share with them, I know you're afraid inside, but so was I. As long as they don't see it on the outside, don't let them see you sweat. You're good, right?
That's true.
So I wanted to be part of that.
Well, let's talk a little bit about that because one of your chapters in here, you talk a lot about imposter syndrome.
Oh my gosh.
I think that is so important for that everyone understands that everyone feels that way. I don't care who you are, unless
exactly
you have like the biggest ego in the world and are totally clueless. Everyone feels that way.
Oh my gosh. That's chapter 4. And I think it's titled, Apparently I'm in charge now, send help. And I certainly experienced it. One of the things I found out that was really interesting is I think it's called the Korn Ferry Global HR Institute. It's a firm, and they did a study of 10,000 employees, 71% and 65% of 71% of CEOs and 65% of execs have experienced imposter syndrome. Yeah. Albert Einstein, arguably one of the smartest people in our history, experienced it. So you're in good company if you're afraid. The thing I think with imposter syndrome is that you have to realize it's your voice in your head. It's you. It's no one else. It's you. Right. And one of the things I learned, and I talk about it in the book, is, you ask, what would I tell someone who thinks they can't do it? So, and I experienced it. I'd been promoted twice. On my third promotion, I'm like, okay, these people are obviously smoking crack or something because they keep promoting me. I just don't get it, right? So, but then I had to sit there, and I remember talking to my husband about it. And he said to me, do you realize all the things you've accomplished? And he started talking to me and saying to me, do you remember that time that you implemented this? And do you remember that time you did that? And by the time he was done, I thought, hell, I need a raise. I don't know what I'm concerned about. So I think for people dealing with imposter syndrome, write that list down of everything you've done to get you to where you are. And then and those are the facts, and facts don't lie. The voice in your head does. Yes. But the facts right in front of you, they don't.
But if you talk to other people too, I know like Karen Edwards is our COO here, and we've worked together for many years. And every once in a while, we both will go to each other and say, okay, am I doing this right? Am I in the right spot? Right. And she'll say yes, or she'll say, no, you know what? You probably should be looking over here because you're kind of spinning your wheels here. And I do the same thing for her. Yeah. I think that is what really will set people apart, because all of a sudden you're like, okay, I can do this. I have someone who believes in me.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I sat there, I talk about this experience in the book, and the president said to me after, it was an experience that I really had a difficult time with. And he said to me after, LD, you are one of my best hires. And I thought to myself, if this man who runs a global organization and has literally thousands of people who rely on him, who make these important decisions, thinks that I am smart, why don't I? Why don't I see it? Why does this guy see it and I don't see it? So, it's a process, but you just keep looking at the facts and you get through it.
Yeah. And, one of the things I love that I have really seen change in the industry, or just in business overall, one obviously is women supporting women. I really see that. But the other one that I see is this shift from the focus. And I want to go there because, like you said, you didn't like school. You did not want to go to college. Nope. And you have had a fabulous career. An absolutely amazing career, bringing your talents. I feel like that has started to change, that people are really looking at the people, or looking, just like, we do so much in the industry right now to entice young people to come into the trades, right? And that is just, roofing is an amazing career, but no one ever really planned to be in roofing unless it's generational.
Absolutely. And you know what? What I really love about the trades, and roofing certainly is one of them as well, it's a pathway to entrepreneurship.
Yes.
If you are really good at what you do, you can start your own business and do very well at it. And you're right. A lot of people don't like school, or it's just not their thing.
Right.
And so having an alternative to be able to get a career that you can make good money at, so that you can support your family and have a good life, is still possible. And the trades are a great place to go. And women are an untapped resource for sure. There's actually a Canadian women's roofing team. I want to say called Nailed It. I can't remember. They're in Northern Ontario, all women. Yeah. And they're doing fantastic.
I've been at a couple different conferences where they've had roofing competitions, installing shingles. And one of those was won by a woman from Canada. I think it was
must have been the same group I'm talking about. That's amazing.
So I love that. So what do you see right now for this next generation as we are kind of, and you know what, wait, I'm going to back up. Sorry. I'm going to back up because I had another question before we go to that one. I want to talk a little bit about raising a family and really that balance between work and family. That has changed a lot. And you hit on it earlier, but really, in 2002, were your kids still in school? Was this still something you were kind of working through?
Yeah. They were, let's see, I'm trying to think. They were probably in their teens.
Yeah.
So mine was a little bit different, although it's just as important, because that's teenage years is when your children can make mistakes that will impact the entire rest of their life.
Right.
Versus a 3-year-old or something. But so they needed parenting. But yeah, it was tough. The thing I do find about this generation today is that men are stepping up more.
Yes, a lot.
Yes, they really are. They're sharing that responsibility. And I did have that at some point. I remember when the kids were little, them being sick. One was sick for about 3 or 4 days, and I really couldn't take any more time off work. So my husband had said to me, you know what, you take the mornings and I'll take the afternoon. So I would stay home in the morning, and then he would come home in the afternoon, and then I would be able to go into the office. But that was rare. That wasn't the norm. But yeah, I think men are participating more. I wanted to make sure that women did not feel like they were being judged. I could not manage continuing to apply myself strongly in my career and raise my kids. I couldn't. I have seen many women who had a baby on one hip and a laptop on the other and rose. And great for them. I couldn't, right? But I didn't want to be left behind. So what I did do was in the evenings, I would work my job and come home at 5, take care of the kids and stuff. But then in the evenings, I started reading more information I started taking courses. There were a lot of things coming in. This is a long time ago. Excel, all of those things were coming in. I learned them. I started getting books out on leadership. So that by the time I was able to actually get more involved in my career, I had a much bigger skill set.
Yeah, that's so smart. And that was because I was in the exact same. In fact, we moved our family clear across country when our oldest was 14. And that, for my work. And that was just not something that, people did that much. But they both work for me now. Your daughters are in the industry.
They work in the industry. Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. So
and
I don't
know.
know.
What I love about that is that one of them is in more of a sales role in supporting sales. And so she's at conferences and trade shows and stuff like that. The other one is more operational.
Yeah.
So it's very interesting. Both are doing extremely well in their careers, but it's very interesting to see both paths. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I know. I have one creative and one more operationals, and when I look back on it, and there were so many times I had people kind of saying, well, you know what kind of mom are you when you're traveling and when you're doing these kind of things? But I think because of that, like you said, it was like we almost did more. The kids went with us. They were part of our careers. They were part of what was going on because that's how the balance worked. And so
absolutely.
I love what you said too, is that women should be judged on whatever they want to do, or men or women.
No,
men who want to stay home and be in it. And my husband was a stay-at-home dad. And I love the fact that we're starting to get past that too. Like, that battle that used to be between what you either are working and you're a career person or you're a stay-at-home. And then what's better, what's not. No, it's all good. It's all the way it should be.
And a lot of the leadership skills you learn are by being a mother. Managing those conflicts between the kids and organizing everything. I mean, it's a challenge, and to do that as while you're working, that's a tough one.
Yeah, it is. We have a lot of moms who work at the coffee shops with kids. They're all remote, and I am impressed with them every single day. And it's pretty amazing. But okay, I have to ask this question. This is one I just started a little bit ago, but what were some of the biggest challenges that you had, in that journey that you had from the operator to the VP? What were some of your biggest challenges and also in roofing?
Well, I think, working with men, which again, I said, most of my jobs were in the manufacturing field. So the leadership teams were typically men. Being taken seriously when my career was growing, much different than now. When you had children, it was kind of viewed as something that would hold you back.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And I remember my mother telling me that she was actually up for a job and her boss told her that she was more qualified, but because she was still of childbearing years, they were giving it to a man. Now, again, that's a very long time ago, time ago.
Yeah.
So we've come a long way, but certainly working with men, being taken seriously. I have to tell you, one of the things that I have found in the roofing industry, Tremco, the company I worked with, was a premium product. It was not the least expensive. It was a product that worked extremely well and that was well respected. We had one of the strongest sales teams. I mean, they were hunters, and they're known in the industry for being the elite. Well, when you're in operations, you try telling somebody who's bringing in $5 or $6 million worth of sales to the company that you're not going to, allow this to be processed, or you're going to change that. That does not go over well.
No.
So building relationships for me, seriously. And if there's anything I can say to women out there, is building those relationships right across the board. From the shipper, I've started a YouTube channel, and I'm putting in 60-second career tips, and they're called Veep Speaks. And episode 2 is called The Admin, the Shipper, and the Candlestick Maker. When I would be sitting in the boardroom, we would come up with strategy, but day to day, I depended on the shipper, the admin, all of those people to make that reality come true. And there were a lot of times that I would ask them to basically stand on their head. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
But because I had built those relationships with them, and they knew how much I valued them, they always stepped up. So to me, relationship building and problem solving go hand in hand, and they are the key to your success, for sure.
Right. I think so too. And respect.
Yes.
I think respect is so important.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Across the board. People come to work, either they come for a job to make a living, earn money, and go home, and that's all they want. And that's great. You have a queen bee and you have worker bees, and the queen bee will not survive without the worker bees, and they wouldn't survive without her, right? So you need the people that just, like my sister, she loved going into work, and she always gave 110%. But when she clocked out at 5, she was done.
Right.
Whereas that wasn't for me. I was too nosy. I wanted to know what was going on. Yeah. I think probably one of the biggest challenges for me in the role that I took was just building those relationships with people who viewed me more as someone who was a deterrent rather than someone who could help them get to where they want to. And I had to prove that I did.
That you were there to help them. And it's a win-win-win. I think that's absolutely another big change that we said. Yes. So, okay, so you've taken on and huge in the roofing industry, National Women in Roofing, Canadian Chair, politics. Now, so what's next? I know you've written this book, and it's kind of setting you up for that next step. What are you looking at next?
Listen, you can tell I love to talk, right? I mean, the name is LD Talks. I love to talk. I love to work with women, and I want to share. So through my career, I have had speaking engagements with the company. In my municipal career, I speak at different events. I love speaking. When I was with National Women in Roofing, I did the same thing. So I want to reach out to women in whatever venue, whatever capacity that is, and share my stories and help them. As I said, I've started a YouTube channel. It's Lillianne Dunstall-LD Talks. And I've started this new series. I now have 2. The first one actually deals with building relationships. And the second one, as I said, again, deals with relationships at a different level. I have 2 more ready to go. And so I'm excited about that. LD Talks is my website. My book just came out in audio, and I hate hearing my voice, but I love that it's my voice because it's my story. And I wanted to say it. As I said, it's funny. My husband's career was in different industries, and he and they would call themselves collegial or colleagues. I had coworkers, right? I mean, I'm just a straight shooting girl. And that's what I offer. There's no fluff. I'm just going to tell you exactly what worked for me, give you real life examples, and then hopefully help.
Yeah. I love it. I love it. Wow. Congratulations on so many levels. Supporting each other. I tell you, this is what it's all about. Well, everyone out there, you can find, we are actually going to have Lillianne in the Speakers Bureau. So you'll be able to find her directory there and get in touch with her. So if you want to, or obviously with ldtalks.com. So, and it's .ca. I was catching myself, .ca. So, and of course, you can always get with us and we can get you that introduction, because I tell you what, this is the kind of stuff that we need to keep doing, because for our industry, we all know it, we need more women and we need more strong women, and we also need to be helping each other. So, Lillianne, thank you so much.
This has been a blast. I was a little anxious about this, as I typically am, but you know what? I had so much fun. So thank you for your time.
It's just like a conversation over a cup of coffee. There we are.
I know. There you go.
Here we go. Cheers.
Cheers.
Thank you so much. Thank you again. And thank you everyone for listening. Wow. How cool is this? Please be sure to check out Lillian's directory under the Speakers Bureau on rooferscoffeeshop.com. Also, be sure to check out all of our podcasts under the RLW navigation. Check out our roofing road trips, either on our site or on your favorite podcast channel. Be sure to subscribe and set those notifications so you don't miss a single episode. We'll be seeing you next time on Roofing Road Trips.
If you've enjoyed the ride, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and join us on every roofing adventure. Make sure to visit rooferscoffeeshop.com to learn more. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll catch you on the next roofing road trip.